Broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Happy Friday, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us for this webinar of looking to add Tinsel to your holiday campaign. And we just wanted to chat a little bit about how you can add those finishing touches to your holiday campaign. I know for me, the holidays snuck up a little bit early this year with Thanksgiving just next week. So if you're like me, it might have snuck up on you too, and you might have a few more things that you'd like to do before the end of the holiday season. So we have Evan Tennant on the line with us here, and he is the director of e-commerce for AdTaxi, and he's going to give us some insights and his tips on how to add those finishing touches to your holiday campaign this season. Over to you, Evan.
Good morning, everybody. Thanks for attending our webinar here today. Thank you for taking time out of your Friday. I'm sure everyone's excited to get out of work, school, whatever you're up to today, and get ready for this weekend. We have some exciting stuff to go through today. It is officially middle of November. So I think a lot of the tactics that you've heard and a lot of the things we've even covered this fall in terms of getting your campaign set up, optimizing everything in terms of a timeline that's going to continue to obtain new customers and balance that with your current customers and help you gain more revenue while not costing you as much money as it can during the holiday. A lot of those things have kind of come and gone now. At this point, I think what we're focusing on and what we're going to talk a lot about today is kind of some of the polishing things you can do in this next week before the big holiday, the big shopping days come, and some of the tactics that you can use and bring to the table in terms of kind of quick, easy optimizations you can make, and then sort of an understanding of what you can do as the heat of this season comes and how you can stay on top of that. I would say that is essentially what we're aiming to focus on here today. In terms of what we're able to go in depth on, we're gonna basically cover a few different things in terms of the strategy that goes into each of these individual, let's call them products, let's call them tactics, let's call it the tinsel. We're first going to kind of start with, what is the main checklist that you need to go through here? What are your main steps here? Obviously, you need to know the important dates. You need to review the holiday trends. So are you ramping up at the right time? Do you have the correct products that are hot now? Do you have them in the right marketplaces? Are you watching the competition? And then next, you need to get your promotions right. In terms of getting your promotions right, that essentially means bringing the message that's the most valuable. So obviously, there's some things like free shipping that are just table stakes at this point. In terms of those table stakes, free shipping, offering some kind of discount. I think a lot of shoppers are sitting here on the sidelines kind of waiting to see what are you going to offer. The Black Friday ads are out. There's a lot of things that are already on the market. In terms of creating that perfect promotion, that depends a lot on your brand and it depends a lot on your audience. However, when we say get your promotions right, it just means make them relevant. Know that just offering free shipping for the Cyber 5 days, from Thanksgiving Day to Cyber Monday is probably not going to put you front and center. You also need to think of your inventory. If you can look at your historical data and go back and say, okay, I sell these 3 products the best. I absolutely seem to run out of one of them every year by Cyber Monday. You probably need to think about whether you want to either hold back a small portion. If you are running a big sale, could you sell it at full price, come early December? Or is it worth it to just say, okay, I either need to think fast, reorder, or see what I can get a hold of, or how can I think through my inventory? That's one that I have a lot of, I feel like, conversations with some of our customers about. That one is one that I absolutely think is worth thinking about in terms of what is the right plan for your inventory and maximizing your profits.
Yeah, Evan.
Size up.
We just had somebody ask about audio. can everybody hear us? Can everybody hear Evan okay? If so, just give us a little quick hand raise on the GoToWebinar panel. I want to make sure that everybody can hear you okay. Okay, it sounds like we're good on audio. Sorry about that, Evan. Go ahead and continue.
Sure. No problem. Let's go back to that. So in terms of sizing up the competition, there's a few tools we're going to go into down the road here, but in general, the best way to think of sizing up the competition is simply, where can you compete? You know, if you look at your inventory, I think most business owners could say, you know, here's the things that, you know, I know that are MAP priced. I know that, you know, no one can sell this for cheaper, maybe very short term, but I can compete on these. And then there's some things, maybe it's logistics, maybe it's the cost of getting it to you. There's certain things you can't compete on. So I think in terms of sizing up the competition, that really comes back down to kind of like looking back at your promotions. You know, where can you get out in front of everybody? You know, how do you do that sort of thing in terms of the inventory that is your core to your brand that you can sell, that you have differentiators on? I think sizing that up is probably one of the most important things. You know, we have a few clients that, you know, ask a lot of questions about that. There's some very competitive categories in the holidays. Toys are one, apparel's one. A lot of that stuff is MAP priced, but if you just, you know, if it breaks your back to sell something at the 20% off that everyone is sort of, you know, setting the bar at on Amazon, you know, maybe don't put that front and center. Don't make that part of your merchandising plan for the holiday. Hone in your media mix. So define how you're going to reach these customers and run alongside them during this whole holiday. So hone it in. So nail it down to say, okay, you know, we are going to prospect via this product. We're going to do some retargeting there, but we're going to focus, you know, our low funnel strategy maybe on search. So how can we adjust the budget for that? Or where can we spend money to get in front of these people in a perfect time? I think that's a big one for, you know, figuring out how to save money and continue to run alongside and be there right when they're ready to make that purchase decision, which is you know, very valuable. Enable customers to discover your products. Be there, you know, make it easy. You know, put your value proposition out front. If you know, if like we just talked about in terms of planning around your inventory, your promotions, sizing up the competition, if you know your bread and butter is this product, then what you need to do is make sure that that is easily identifiable the minute they land on your website. So as soon as they get there, they're like, oh, this guy he has the Nike shoes I want. He has, you know, he has the Samsung TV I want. It's right there. And that's just kind of, you know, knowing what you want to sell and where you can make money. Prioritize personalization. Now, personalization in this day and age comes in a lot of forms, but I think what we refer to it is, you know, try to eliminate the friction in that path to purchase. So, you know, serve relevant ads, offer cross-sell, upsell opportunities as quickly as you can. You know, get things in front of people. Make sure that those ads seem relevant. You know, I don't think everyone needs to do, you know, a full personalization thing like a, you know, where you know, a Sephora thing or something where you can try products on, those kind of things. I don't think that's fully necessary, but I think personalization where if someone has been, you know, if you're retargeting them, run dynamic, run relevant ads, run a Facebook carousel that has all the items that people, let's say they, you know, if he's not going to buy this Samsung TV because it's $10 more than his budget, what else are people buying who have added that to the cart and left and come back? You know, think of those things through in terms of, you know, how your business can succeed in that moment. Use your first-party data. This is huge. There's a lot of success around first-party data. You honestly can align your audience much faster. It's significantly more inexpensive than a lot of other tactics, and you really are able to figure out some lifetime value. You're able to kind of expand your customer pool of those high-value customers by saying, okay, so I have, you know, exported a customer list, I've created a lookalike audience, it is continuing to convert at the highest rate, then you know that that system is working for you. So then what you're going to want to do is once you feel like that system's working, then once the holiday's over, you can go back to a basic retargeting versus prospecting plan. Bring your A game by platform. I think this one kind of speaks into some of the content, but I feel like when I talk to a lot of our campaign managers about this webinar, I think we talked about content a lot. Make holiday content, bring your best you have, make it relevant, make it valuable. Absolutely, it's definitely worth it to take the time to get that one right, because I think it spans across the products, it spans across a lot of our clients, and I think it works for a lot of people to say, take a little bit of time this week, maybe polish some of that stuff, and bring yourself, to the forefront with an A game on your platforms. Just wanted to run through a few of the stats. We talked about a lot of these this fall, but I do think that some of these are really what makes all of this make sense. It does for me, at least. E-commerce sales over the holiday season are still growing. $123 billion is the estimate this year, and they're saying things are even looking stronger as of right now. People are shopping earlier. People are shopping more online. I think people are shopping, obviously, a lot more on mobile. That's a big trend. So I think continuing to keep that in your mind, the best way to think of it is the A game. Go back to the A game, what we just talked about. Online is going to be your bread and butter in terms of reaching more people, reaching more valuable customers, and then increasing that lifetime value. Little cool stat though, of the 61 days that made up November and December last year, 58 of them reached 1 billion in retail sales. So it's not really worth taking one day off. Continuing to hone in that strategy and think every day, what optimizations can I make? How can I refine this? We'll go into some of those tactics, but thinking of those on a day-to-day basis are very valuable. 35.8 billion of the e-commerce dollars last year were spent on mobile. To me, and I think a lot of people in our office, that's pretty staggering. Mobile has had a very, very hot rise in terms of especially the holiday. There's still a lot of purchases. I always think people will do the research on mobile and then they'll execute that purchase on a desktop, but holiday seems to blur a lot of those lines. So it's definitely a good time to keep that in the forefront. Few more stats. In terms of the holiday boost and why, paying attention to your budgets and paying attention to the quality of your ads and making sure that you're using all the first party data, making sure that you're understanding, how to push things to the bottom of the funnel with dynamics is because of these stats right here. Conversion rates skyrocket, conversions skyrocket. Those are both huge opportunities. Revenue skyrockets. Your sessions just in general, your traffic is going to increase, 15%. Flip side to that, if you just ran your ads, also, your costs are going to skyrocket. Your every part of it, whether you're buying programmatic or whether you're running Google ads, all of those costs are going to go up. So paying better attention and kind of having a more polished, plan overall is absolutely worth it, simply because huge opportunity and kind of a big risk. These other little charts over here, I like these because a lot of customers talk to me about, I don't have the money, I can't keep up, I can't compete with these people. In terms of what these say, it essentially says, hey, there's a lot of people spending money, but the click share, 65% of these clicks for top retail keywords are not going to these major retailers. They're going to people who are just in the auction, people who are just bidding like you, who have taken the time to optimize keywords, get their site right, get their campaigns lined up, lining themselves out the best they can. I think especially with Google, I'll say, they do give you an opportunity to succeed in this. So that's kind of my one argument to that in terms of, I can't compete with Walmart and Amazon. Well, technically, there's still a lot of clicks out there. There's a lot of people shopping. There's no better time to hone this stuff in. The Cyber 5. So the Cyber 5 is, essentially the Thanksgiving through Cyber Monday. And it is obviously the biggest shopping week of the year. Not something I want to totally focus on in terms of where you should be, putting all your energy, because I do believe that this is the most dangerous time and the biggest opportunity period. I think there's a lot of opportunity into December, and I think there's a lot of opportunity after Christmas. We'll continue to talk about that, but these are the stats from 16 to 17. and they're pretty impressive. I mean, as e-com grew, these also skyrocketed, and I think it's great to see. Veterans Day is a pretty solid retail day. It's not even in the arena. There is some other specific days. I know, we'd met with Bing about holiday. They had some interesting days. I think every platform kind of has other days that are big for shopping, and that could have to do with some of the promotions. But in general, this is the theme of when you want to have this stuff, basically honed in. So Cyber Monday, obviously, that is huge for certain items. You can just say Cyber Monday is probably like a general shopping day. Black Friday, I think we all know, comes down to a few categories. Essentially, electronics is huge. The big ticket items, they say. So if you're shopping for a bike, a TV, an Xbox, Black Friday is probably the time to shop for it, and those retailers know that, and that's where they're going to put their budget. What is your specialty? Thanksgiving Day could be it. You could probably do some research in terms of what you have in your data that says, okay, Small Business Saturday is my bread and butter. Save the money from Black Friday and just don't keep that budget in line, but don't put all your eggs into that basket. Try to pace that out if you know that it's just you're not going to be able to afford that. On the slide 6, the tactics in the timeline are essentially how we kind of lay out when are you going to put these things into action? When are you going to take what you built in terms of campaigns, and when are you going to put those into the actual into the role? So you want to roll out your deals, obviously, coming into the big week here. You want to allow people to get excited about them. That's why people release the Black Friday ads. That's why we know all the Cyber Monday deals. It's absolutely, it's the time to get people ramped up on it. In terms of Cyber Monday, that is when you really want to push that budget into the bottom of the funnel. So you want to bring those products down, and you want to say, okay, we are going to obviously shift everything we can to who we think is a valuable, who's the valuable audience? Is this retargeting audience who has, essentially abandoned the cart? They've looked, they've shopped, we know they're there, they've created accounts. Those are the people you want to spend that budget on. You're probably not going to push a ton of money into running branding and prospecting for a Cyber Monday. I think people are essentially open. The most open, most open part of the year is holiday shoppers. However, Cyber Monday is a time when you want to hone in on what's valuable, because it's going to cost you a ton for clicks. Buying into the auctions is going to be expensive. So you want to essentially nail that down into actual customers. Interesting stat: 50% of the revenue for the holiday season is made by November 29th. And then in terms of when I think you have some valuable opportunity is between November 29th and what I call the shipping day, which tends to be December 20th. But I think in this case, some of these stats from Adobe, that's where I pulled a lot of these, that they're saying it's December 13th. Regardless of that, I think that is the meat of the shopping season. I think people are impulsive during that period. I think you have an opportunity to get in front of new people. I think that you essentially can use that time to say, this is when I'm going to try to make as many sales as I can. This is when I can get in front of people, turn back on some ads in terms of not having to run the craziest sale ever, so maybe gain back some of that revenue. Between December 18th and 25th, and this is something that I saw repeatedly in the data from last year, local inventory ads and making sure you let everyone know that they can web room your products is number one. It is absolutely the key. It is order online, pick up in store. Put that all over the place for that last opportunity, because people still need to buy gifts. I mean, absolutely, we all know we buy those gifts, but you want them now. You're worried about the shipping, you're not even going to risk it. So that's local inventory ads, letting people know what's in stock close to them, and then obviously getting things to a point where it's, they know they can just click and come and grab it, or whatever system you have. If you do have a same-day delivery, any of that stuff, that's going to be that period where you can essentially make that money. Conversion rates are still high through January 15th. That is a religion of post-holiday. People come in for returns, they have gift cards, they're still spending money. It's still the holiday season. A lot of people turn off their budgets or are weary because they've spent too much. It's a great time to grab some low-hanging fruit and kind of continue in terms of, keeping that revenue going. This is kind of a plan that we made last year, and I really think that this is kind of a cool ad. This is one of my favorite things to talk to clients about. The month leading up to November 15th is when you kind of can build framework. You can kind of say, this is what I think we need to do. This is sort of where I think, this is where I want to land the traffic. These are the promotions we can run. I'm going to be prepared. I basically have this time to make sure that this is going to go right. November 15th is kind of that deadline. So at this point, what we're moving into now is either optimizations or things you can do to kind of polish and continue to either lower your cost per acquisition or just increase pure revenue and profit. And that's in November 15th through 27th. That's when you're going to put some more money in budgets. You're going to launch those promotions you've made. And you're going to center it around those couple of big days if that's sort of where you're competing. November 28th November 28th through December 22nd, that's that meat that I call it. That's where you're going to kind of maximize spend, turn back on your always on. You're going to promote sales across channels. That's leading up to the end of that holiday shipping window. And as you can see in this graph from one of our clients, you can see that this rings true. So their conversion rate is absolutely peaking, and their traffic, all of it's kind of coming together in this line. The one thing that then I think kind of tells the story is the conversion rate stays high, basically post Christmas, but the sessions come down. So the people who are coming are those are your high value. Those are the people who all of them are coming to shop. They're coming to purchase. And then if you kind of compare the stats below, that's just sort of me showing this is your sessions revenue, what you can expect for a much bigger period than the holiday, from June to October. And the only things that really change, and this tends to be pretty true too, is average order value always goes down during the holiday. People are kind of, a little bit more looking for gifts. They're definitely budget minded. They're not so much thinking of big purchases, but revenue goes up. Conversion rate skyrockets. Your transactions skyrocket. The rest of the stats, speak for themselves. Going into the basics of the holiday promotions, this is sort of where we start talking about this strategy. Coupon codes. We debate coupon codes a lot here. People don't always use coupon codes, but people see coupon codes and they drive traffic. I always think it's funny how, even a great coupon code, I feel like a lot of merchants get emails about it after the fact, or it didn't work, or, I didn't see it, or the affiliate didn't work. But coupon codes are essential, and it's a great way to stay in front of people. It's another touch point in the past. Percentage off offers. Whether it's a decay model, aka meaning that they abandon their cart and you send them an email offering 10%, and then you up that to 15%. That is a percentage off offer. Or a percentage off offer can just be everything for this week is off. Those are what tend to drive people out of email. So if you're doing an email drip campaign, sweeten the best offer you can for percentage off. That tends to be the #1 traffic driver to your site. Free shipping, we kind of talked about it earlier. Free shipping is a table stake at this point. Shipping is always evolving in e-com. If you look at what's surging in e-com, it's vertical, it's groceries, and it's furniture. And those are surging simply because people are getting more comfortable with the logistics of ordering furniture and groceries online. So is they're like, okay, I don't want to order a couch because I think it's going to be $180, and now that's shifting to, wait for everyone's pretty much got cheap shipping. Things come on pallets. I'm still, I'm not afraid of that anymore. That's absolutely vital. Pre-wrapped gift sets. This kind of comes down to the upsell, cross-sell merchandising. I think it makes it easier for people to spend a little more money. I think it's a good way to combat the decrease in average order value. I think the free gift box and custom message, I think that's just a touch that people love. It makes it easier to buy a present from you. That goes back into some of the logistics. If you were to say, I could just order this and have it shipped to them, and I'm actually not worried about the way it's going to look when it shows up, that's huge. that definitely will drive people to purchase. Guaranteed delivery rates, delivery dates, that's another big thing that I feel like has helped furniture within the e-com vertical just skyrocket in the last year. I think people now, Amazon Prime has set a new bar. 3 days is about the standard in America. And I think guaranteed delivery dates on things that are going to be any longer than 3 days gives people that peace of mind. So they're like, all right, I feel a lot better about that. Guaranteed in stock. That goes back to some of your local inventory ads. Don't get those wrong. Get your feed right. Make sure that if people want to buy from you, if they're looking for that Samsung TV and there's 17 of them at that Best Buy, make sure that there is. Or if you're selling Nike shoes, have in stock what you're saying, because that's definitely going to, you're not going to get the foot traffic, you're not going to get the web traffic, and it's just going to hurt your overall year-round performance. Extend offers. So I think what we're seeing with a lot of people is coming back with a new offer to kind of round out the holiday. So you got your Cyber 5 deals, those are your big ones. You've got kind of like an always on with some percentages off and, some offers that you're running into that meat of the Christmas season. And then I think after that, people tend to say, I kind of need to, cut my losses. I personally think that's a great time to unload some inventory, start a new campaign, remind people why they would maybe want to buy something like that in January, and get yourself ready for the retail lull of February and March. The ability to put items on hold, that's huge. We know that a lot of our, bricks and clicks customers, which is kind of what essentially, online and brick and mortar, the ability to put items on hold is huge, because then people can say, I'm not fully sure, but it's a lot better than abandoning a cart. If you can put something on hold, whether you maybe make a small deposit or not, still, I think that is a good position in terms of getting people to not necessarily abandon carts. 70% of carts are abandoned. Anything you can do to lower that number during the holiday is just going to lower your cost per acquisition, because you're paying a ton more to get that traffic. So the focus on saying, I'd rather not waste this money, I'd rather not waste this customer, is vital. This little graphic from Home Depot I really like as a merchandising example. We find as it gets closer to Christmas too, people do like lower priced items. Maybe you didn't round out someone's stocking, or you don't feel like you did what you needed to. Gifts under 20, gifts under 50, those kind of things I think stand out. Size up your competition. This is kind of the details of that. Google has a tool, the price benchmarks. It kind of allows you to say, this is your offer. You can see up to 5 other offers. It's a great way to figure out if you're not, a self-branded product, if you're a retailer, go in there, figure out where you're at, because if you're running and spending advertising dollars on something that you absolutely can't compete on, it's just not going to win. You're going to have a very sad holiday when you could essentially say, hey, I can't sell the Google Home, so I'm going to sell, I'm going to do the next best thing that I can compete on, and this is how you essentially know it is. You just do some research, and then you figure out where you want to bid more aggressively. Price impacts performance. And you can go back into your data and say, this is how price impacts my performance. If you have 4 core products, and for some reason maybe manufacturing changes or logistics or something changes to impact that price, I guarantee that you're going to see a performance change. It's going to be in there. It's going to be in your data, and you can adjust accordingly. Taking what we've talked about today and some of this knowledge around the holiday and what's worth it, where you're going to lose money, where you're going to gain money. This goes into building your product mix. And number one conversation I feel like we have is the ultimate product mix. There isn't an ultimate product mix. If you sell a $10 item, you're going to struggle to recoup on certain advertising products. Things that are, have high CPMs or cost you a lot to get clicks or traffic. You want to focus on, things that are a little less expensive to gain those shoppers. So creating the product mix is essentially, I would say, probably about a third of the importance of what you can do to optimize the remainder of the holiday season. Search, obviously, is a huge part of this, and I think search is the lowest funnel advertising product and the most effective throughout this whole process. However, understanding when to increase social, when to increase display, and when to take that money and push more and more of it into dynamic is kind of like the ultimate bread and butter of success. I think this e-commerce survey, it does a good job of laying out what are people going to spend money on. You know, where do they see ROAS during the holiday? Paid search, social media, first-party email, display ads. Those are obviously the #1 drivers of, you know, of revenue, of new customers, of returning customers, that whole mix. In terms of individual budgets, I think 30% is about what I've come to in the last couple of years. I think if you're not planning on increasing your budget 30% across the board, I think you will see a performance dip unless you're balancing that out with a promotion that's irresistible. But then also you could be driving traffic to that promotion that's irresistible and then continuing, you know, to build your revenue. So I think in terms of, what do you increase your budget for the holiday? You increase it 30%. You kind of find what is your ultimate product mix. If you have a $75 product and it's hot and trending, put your money into social media this next week. Anyone who does any shopping activity, you want to retarget them dynamically on social media. Those are some of the things that would filter into how you would take your budget increase and where you'd spread it. Everything kind of has its own nuance in that sense. But I do think that if you can play this right, you can balance, so average order value decreases, and you can also kind of play out not spending too much on your sessions, aka impressions, ad serves, or your cost per acquisition. So I think this is very important. I think some of these stats are definitely interesting to me. So personalization is a priority. This is huge. Personalization, we kind of talked about earlier. You want to optimize bids, you want to optimize content, and you kind of want to optimize, I guess I'd say, your whole holiday strategy to your customers, your value proposition, and then what are your differentiators? If you have the biggest inventory of anything, then that's your biggest differentiator. That's how Wayfair was built. Wayfair, they didn't really try to compete with Amazon on price on a lot of stuff. They just said, we have the weird, funky, eclectic furniture, and we're going to build this model and just like let everyone, we're going to bend, we're going to be third party, we're going to take it all in, and we're going to essentially just make our differentiator that we have it here, it's front and center, we let everyone know that this is what we have. So that is a personalization to say, during the holiday, put those things out front. In terms of some of this optimizing for bids, this is actually some data that Bing shared with us, and I really like that. So if someone were to land on your homepage, what would you retarget them with essentially? Or what would be your content, and then how should you budget accordingly? I think this chart is extremely effective for that. I think it's something that you can learn to say, like, all right, so this is the most valuable thing. If someone leaves the shopping cart, they've added items, and maybe they, add the second item and the shipping changed, you should absolutely increase your bid as much as you can and throw a free shipping offer, minimum, if that's not what you're doing. Or throw a collateral percentage off that would balance that out. These kind of things in terms of the customizing ads, they're a great personalization strategy in terms of customer recognizing that you are seeing their needs, and then also staying in front of them. Use personalized ad copy. Make content relevant. Don't show someone a red pair of shoes, high heels, when they looked at those Nikes. Make it as I would say concise and personalized as possible. The power of audience. So in terms of what we do well, especially here at AdTaxi, we align audiences. That is what I think that we stand out from the crowd with. I find myself being always impressed by our technology, by the intelligence in our office, and a lot of that I think comes down to we seem to be focused on aligning the correct audiences that are the most valuable in the moment and that are going to give you the biggest return on ad spend. There's a lot of tools in this day and age to align your audiences. There is algorithms like our Quantum that we have here that essentially analyzes a set of data and says, this is your hot hand. There's remarketing. There's your own first-party customer list. There's similar audiences and lookalikes. There's intent signals. Use all of these things to not waste money on audiences that are not going to convert. Get in front of the people that are going to be converters. It's just absolutely the way. And this is kind of a little breakdown in terms of what Google's, their RLSA program, some of their tools, and then also there's obviously a little Facebook data. Facebook lookalike audiences are a very low funnel effective holiday solution. Customer match on Google, extremely effective low holiday solution. Those kind of things will get you more revenue with costing you less. Targeting, segmentation, and dynamic. Lifetime value is one of the biggest goals because if you hook someone once, that's awesome. A lot of us ignore email ads after that. It's hard unless your brand made an impact on them. So a lot of time, especially during the holiday when people are either price shopping, discovery shopping, it's very hard to say what's going to be the LTV of this client. It's very hard to even think of that. So what I think it comes down to is how can you figure out who that valuable segment is? So how would you go back into your data from the year before and say, all right, this is my highest lifetime value segment. And maybe that's people who purchased 2 items or spent $300 or whatever that small little differentiator within that segment is. Those are the people that you could also adjust some bids, maybe run a different campaign, maybe run some different retargeting. Absolutely worth it. Also, we've kind of found in some data that we've seen lately, if you can get people after the second purchase, you essentially can build some loyalty in terms of retail, whether you're a retailer or a brand. So that third purchase is like the moment. And that's a lot harder than it sounds though. The first one, especially during the holiday, that's easy. And maybe maybe they send that item that they bought to someone and it's not even going to really be possible for you to make that stand because you're going to be sending your marketing materials to the purchaser. So what you want to do is, how do you define that? How do you find those people and segment them out? Your best customers. Your best customers you obviously need to treat differently in terms of making sure that they know exactly what's going on, what's new this holiday. The brands they love are still there, and new lines, new promotions, all those things. So breaking them down is definitely worth saying, I'm going to put an individual marketing campaign into best customers. Cross-sell. So cross-sell opportunities are one of the best strategies that I think we've ran some social strategies where what we'll do is, a great example would be camera. If you bought a Canon camera, you exported your catalog, you could essentially say every single one of these items in my inventory fits onto this camera. So if John Smith bought this camera, then when we know that he's shopping, when we know that he's in market, we should run the dynamic personalized ads of all the items that would fit on that camera. That is a cross-sell opportunity. So that is saying, this is an item that you could add on. This is an item you could add on to a past purchase, increasing your lifetime value, making you a best customer. But then also that strategy can be taken into, we know if people buy Samsung TVs, a lot of them buy batteries and a backup remote. And Apple TVs, run those in conjunction. Put a grid on your landing page of those items merchandise. Run a Facebook carousel of that stuff. Those are the kind of cross-sell strategies that are extremely valuable during this time. And this one goes across all the products, and that's kind of what makes, I think, cross-selling very valuable, because you can run cross-sells in email. You can run cross-sells in display even, and you can run it in social. You can run it in YouTube bumper ads. It can be anywhere. So in terms of going through tips by platform, tips by platform, essentially we're going to kind of go into what would each individual platform bring to the table, and and how can you optimize that. That one's definitely where I think that you can, if you're an individual, if you put your brand in the driver's seat here, and we're talking about your brand, the tips by platform are going to be the personalized content of today for you. This is what will help you, be where can I pick and choose this data? What can I use for my business? Be discoverable though. drive consideration, aka allow people to put you into their mental mix of, I'm looking for TVs. What brands am I looking for? Oh, well, okay, so I'm in market for a TV. Samsung. Like, drive that consideration and be discoverable. I have all the Samsung TVs on sale. And you want to connect with shoppers everywhere that they are. There's a lot of steps in the path to purchase now, and understanding which touch points are the most valuable is absolutely one of the hardest parts of our job. It changes by business, but defining, people buy my products at 6 p.m. when they get home from work, once them and their spouse are sitting down, then you definitely need to think about that. That's a valuable connection with you. That's a touch point that's the most valuable. That is worth putting dollars into during the holiday even more, and that is worth understanding that this is going to be a higher place for you to convert. Remove friction. I always tell people, the less clicks in the path to purchase, the better. If you, for some reason, have, not a quick view, you don't have, a sticky cart that's always sitting up there. If you don't have some of those features on your site, you need to think about that even more seriously and say, all right, I do not want to have 7 clicks for someone to buy a product that has, that you go home, category, individual product. There's no reason to not have it be, any more complex than that. Keep an eye on that, because I think as we build sites and we think of the features, the technology, all these things we want to bring to our clients, I think you can get stuck in putting a ton of extra clicks in there that don't make sense. You want to maximize your investment. So if you want to increase traffic, sales, profit, then you need to go into each individual platform and say, where can I win here and where am I losing? We'll start with search. Search, like I said, is obviously extremely important to e-com and during the holiday, because a lot of people are searching. Let's call social media an inspiration platform, and people are a little more emotional during this time, so you can snag them. Search is still kind of that low funnel. I'm drilling it down. I'm looking for this product. You want to review your successes from last year. Set your bids in anticipation. Know when the peaks are coming. Know what you spent last year, or know, the historical data. I showed you a couple of charts. Like, know that if you have X amount of budget, you need to watch it on Cyber Monday. You want to allocate. So you want to say, I'm going to look forward and know that I'm going to spend this amount of money, and this is where my clicks are going to come from during these times. Consider a non-last click attribution model. This is something that I think Google's been talking a lot about, and I feel like it's making more and more sense because of the length of the path to purchase, and because the touch points are becoming complex, and sort of new things are all over, in terms of what research people are doing, the web room, showroom. A lot of these things kind of make a last click attribution model a little bit archaic, and it can kind of confuse you in the sense of, okay, these are the customers I'm winning with, but are you? If you're not doing, in-store comparisons, and you're not doing all of those things as well, then you do not know, last click is not going to work for you, because that might not be your most valuable moment. It may be people who honestly, are researching, and then it might be a way different point in that path to purchase than that last click. Run your site link and get site link and promotion extension set up. I feel like those are easy wins. What some people do, countdowns to, shipping windows closing, or some people just put their best promotion, 30 to 50% off on all Samsungs. Something like that is essentially in your search ad and is front and center. So you have one less competition to deal with, because you already set yourself apart by being the person who has those on sale. We're going to go back to some of the stuff with the later season. Bank on shoppers close to the store. Very valuable strategy in terms of saying, I'm going to get my feed dialed. I'm going to make sure that my local inventory ads are always unlocked, so that people know it's here. And then if they search near me, if they search, in stock, if they search a zip code, Samsung TVs, 59801, then you're there. You're on that, and that's what you want. Have strong remarketing. We talked about that. you're going to want to turn some of that stuff back on and have some of those abandoned shoppers on some of your more specific products you can compete on. You're going to want to turn that back on post Cyber 5. So you want to have those lists. You want to have different messages. You want to have your post Cyber 5 messages. You want to have all that stuff going. You want to have your promotions ready for that list, for that remarketing campaign, and have it ready. This next week, I think what you're going to do is you're going to be constantly kind of in that battle. But I think you can kind of go back to your more traditional from your RLSA in terms of prospecting and then building that right post that. Enable a branded campaign. We call it always on. I recommend it for every customer. One of my colleagues has a great way of saying it. Says if you don't run an always on brand campaign, you're essentially turning off the open light in front of your store. And I like when he says that because if you think about it, if you're walking down the block and you're looking for TVs and you're like, oh, there's a TV store and they have Samsung and their open lights off, and they're searching for you. So they're in market, they're on the street, they're looking for a Samsung TV. You have your open light off, you lost low-hanging fruit. You at least lost a chance to get in front of that shopper, get them in your retargeting pool. So that's a huge tip that I feel like I constantly try to harp. Branding campaigns tend to have a great return, but shopping campaigns tend to be lower funnel in all PLAs. But keeping your branded campaign on so that when people, I don't remember what that, I think it was Samsung or one of those brands that had this here, like, it's this model, like the HV, I got part of it, branded campaign, or a campaign that will bring people to you as an authority for that. A campaign that will say, I think it was Carter's, or there's things they can't remember about your store or your unique identifier, but your branded campaigns can bring you there. Instead of saying, I'm going to drill down on this. Going into shopping. So shopping is a big part of, I think, the last 3 holidays I think we're seeing in the data. And that is because really goes kind of back to everything we talked about today. There is no friction in the past when you click on a PLA. It is direct to the product. You can purchase that product from that page. It is a product listing ad. It is that easy. So if you get it right, you get the right offer in there, you have a good data feed, and it is functioning correctly, that is one of your best chances. It's also a great way to figure out if you are competing. A lot of these you can see there's people who are running, there's probably a lot of people who have, winter jackets is a tough one, but there's probably a lot of people who sell an individual model of this Samsung we keep talking about. You can really quickly size that stuff up in Google Shopping too. And you can kind of get a lay of the land. Often you can see who has it close and so do a little business research in there. But you need to have your information on lockdown too, so that you're always front and center on that. It's cheaper, it's direct, it's very easy to get your message in front of them, and then you get people onto your product detail page, which is where you have a shop. When they land on your product detail page, then the ball is in your court. You have good images. Your cart's good. Your site seems like it's a place they want to shop, and you have easy returns, and they see the Christmas countdown up on the top. That gives you a chance to win with them much easier than taking them to a landing page or kind of trying to figure out what is the strategy to get this person to finish this cart. You want to go ahead and segment top holiday products into high priority. So this is important just because you want to make sure that what you're doing with your budget is focusing on the items you're really trying to sell. So you want to keep that always on, and with shopping, you want to keep a low priority of essentially the catalog you're all trying to sell, so that people are looking for that individual item. But the items that you're winning on, the items you're running promotions, the items you have differentiators on, those are the ones you want to put high priority and try to segment off and focus. You can do that, via some custom labels in your feeds. You could say, you can make a holiday segment. You could also do it just things that you make the most profit on. Those are all great segments to get set up for this season when opportunity is high and risk is high. Local inventory ads, we kind of talked about those again. Those to me are a tactic that I feel like is becoming more all the holiday because of the web rooming phenomena of people wanting to do research online and then go buy it right then. All right, I learned it. I know this is going to be the same price at Best Buy. I'd like to go grab it with my hands and set it up tonight. That's local inventory ads advantage. And I think this tip about day parting is very valuable too, because, you know, if people just are not, if your store's not open, they don't really care if you have 12. You know, you want to run your ads when they can come get it now. They know they know you'll be open in the morning. And I feel like the trick with that one there is during the holiday, there's less patience, there's more busyness, and you want to essentially try to keep an eye on that budget by, you know, watching things such as that. Buy now, pick up in store. Go ahead and throw that out there. You know, try to sub in that one instead of, you know, running your local inventory ads when you essentially are not going to be able to compete with Best Buy being open till 10. So Facebook and Instagram, going into these, I think what I said about the emotional moments in terms of social media come down to, we discover things on social media because I think we're sitting in a moment where we're a little more open, and we're, you know, if you're looking for a TV, you know all the brands, you're searching them. But then if you see some new TV that has, you know, it has memory in it, and it has old PlayStation games built into the memory chip, all these things, you're like, that's a social media moment. That's when we discover those things. And I think all of us could think of an instance where you discovered a brand, a product, something on Facebook or Instagram. So the holidays are the inspiration. This is your easiest moment. So I think in terms of that, you have this chance to say, all right, well, I can kind of throw anything out there, and, you know, we're going to go ahead and make this work. We're going to go ahead and say, all right, our company, no one's ever seen it, but we can get in front of new people, we can put our differentiators out there, and we can also build a retargeting pool that then we can serve them with PLAs on social media to get these sales during the holiday season. Create holiday themed ads. That's a big one. Vertical format. We're seeing a lot of that. As we're talking about mobile, people are on mobile, make sure that your stuff can be vertical format so it's easy, it looks good, you're getting shoppers. Catalog ads, collection ads. Collection ads to me are very powerful because you kind of get a chance to get a little branding touch during this open, emotional, inspirational phase, but you also get a chance to kind of run those PLAs. So you can kind of run maybe a 6-second video about, you know, what makes you special. We have the most inventory, you know, family owned. We back up all of our products. We back up every TV we sell. But then below it, you can also show that you're competing on Samsung TV prices. So I really like collections in terms of e-com, especially during the holiday. Make Instapost shoppable. Absolutely. You know, make people be able to discover your products and your content if you can on Instagram. Especially right now. People like the aesthetic. They like the idea of buying a gift for someone that person would experience. Great place to make things shoppable. You want to complement your email messaging by targeting email lists with Facebook and Insta ads. So you want to take your email messaging and you want to essentially say, this is what I would run to these individual audiences. So that's going to be holiday. That's going to be segments. Those things are all going to come into play here. And you're going to complement them by saying, okay, so this email went out to these people. Let's retarget them with a little bit sweeter of an offer. Let's retarget them with, you know, remind them that we're having the sale or kind of stay in front of them. Retarget non-converters. There's a lot to that. That one is, you know, essentially kind of also another table stake in terms of the success of this. You want the non-converters, depending on where they are in that scale we talked about, what their action was, you want to go ahead and try to serve them the correct content. Dynamic retargeting increases personalization. I think all of these tactics for Facebook and Instagram are extremely valuable right now because of that moment where people are not so drilled in. Maybe they're sitting down and relaxing at the end of the day. They're a little more willing to take some time and check something out. Snapchat. We've learned a lot about Snapchat lately. I'm pretty impressed with the brands that are winning on Snapchat. I'm pretty impressed with the amount of interaction they're getting with their customers. And I think it's a great way to be discovered. And I think it's also a great way to stay in front of people. And whether that's you embracing Snapchat technology and saying, I'm going to, you know, do a cool filter, or I'm going to try to essentially enter this ecosystem. Or if you just want to kind of be on Snapchat, they have great millennial coverage. That's a big part of this holiday, is kind of that millennial demographic. They have great, and they also do really well in video. And video is a great way to have people learn and be inspired and kind of like take that next step in terms of purchasing. Going into RTB, I think that the main thing with RTB is that right now you really want to focus on making sure that what you're using your ads for and the real estate of your ad and what's going out there are absolutely effective. Customize for the holiday. Make everything visible. Speak to the holiday shoppers. You want to run specific campaigns. You want to watch the spikes, especially with a lot of the RTB, because some of the CPMs can get crazy where you want to be in that moment. But then you also want to make sure that as soon as you kind of get through some of the heat of it, you do continue to run your evergreen so that you are still doing some prospecting to build those lists. But I think RTB is especially sensitive during the spikes because it can be expensive. Dynamic retargeting, again, comes down to it. Retarget, personalize, make it easy, align your audiences, get the best customers. These are kind of throughout the products. Find high-performing pockets of inventory. We see a lot of RTB success come down to, I think, our attention to detail on this, and that is embracing new products and new platforms in the programmatic space, and also understanding that there's valuable customers and there's valuable impressions in places that don't have to necessarily go holiday crazy on price. There's a lot of places that you can essentially sit down and say, okay, well, I might be able to afford this and get a ton more coverage, and maybe I could reach some new customers, but then I'm also able to build a pool. So I think there's a lot of wins in sitting through, like, is there some pockets I can win in? Connected TV, that's a great example. Connected TV, we've seen it's growing in popularity, but millennials are cutting the cords, and connected TV is such a massive span. It is everything from all the apps on your smart TV to the individual events that you can order, to some of the shopping things on smart TVs I've seen. There's ads in those. That's all connected TV, and that is a great place to replace non-effective TV ads, take that budget, put it in connected TV immediately, and get in front of millennials. If they're the ones that are that's where that spending power shifting this holiday, connected TV is absolutely the place to do it. Have your content ready, mobile ready. Make sure that you're ready to go. Obviously, the 3 go-to sizes. That's just kind of goes back to the content that's extremely valuable for programmatic during this time of the year. A little bit of a recap on what we've talked about today. Prepare, get your promotions aligned, prioritize, look at your data, figure out what worked. Try to understand when, okay, so we didn't sell a lot of these items. We didn't sell all these Samsung TVs right up until Cyber Monday. For 2 weeks after that, they didn't sell because everyone, was mad they either missed that price or moved on. But then you need to go back and say, okay, well, we can still run another campaign before Christmas. Those are the kind of things I think you need to step back and think about balancing, and that can be an online in-store balance. And I thought of that with a couple of our clients recently. Maybe that would sell better online during this, small section of the holiday season, and maybe it would sell better in-store after that. Use a YouTube brand list study to learn about messaging and promote brand preference for early bird shoppers. I like that one just because that's a great earlier season tactic as well, but also it lets you know that if people are in the heat of the shopping season, do they know who you are? Are you relevant in hair dryers? If you're an up and coming brand, are you relevant? Do people know who you are? Are you competing in the big space? You might be spending in the big space, but are you competing in it? In terms of following people along their journey, that is extremely hard in this age, but also I think the tools are they're more available and they're easier to navigate than they've ever been, because people expect to be touched across their journey. You know, a lot of people ask me, what's the technology behind when I leave something in my cart on my phone? I don't have an account, and then when I go home, it's on my laptop, in the cart. Those are the kind of things that as long as it's not wildly invasive, running alongside the customer and continuing to stay in front of them is extremely valuable, especially now, because they're getting bombarded. They're about to get even more bombarded. We just got done with being bombarded with political, and now we're ramping up. Now it's getting crazy for retail. How do you stay in front of them? How do you remind them that, you're family owned and that you have these differentiators that you cling on to? You basically just need to remember, you need to run alongside them and stay in that journey for shopping. Feed optimization. We've talked about this in some situations. I see a lot of waste when there's non-optimized feeds. There's a lot of things you need to keep an eye on in terms of if your feed, you need to watch for disapprovals. Some of your best items could be disapproved and you haven't been running them for some of the most valuable shopping days of the year. Those kind of things are absolutely worth paying attention to. Some of the things that we essentially bank on here are some of the technology, some of the dynamic retargeting strategies we have, a lot of the first-party data and the way that we manipulate it to create higher, better performing audiences that have, more value, more loyalty, continue to convert. These kind of things come down to, I think, understanding not only the data, but your business itself. And if you don't do that, you end up spending a lot of money kind of chasing non-effective new customers that aren't going to convert. Retargeting. I'm going to say it one more time. I'm done. Retargeting, dynamic retargeting, those are going to be the ways that you are going to not only continue to run alongside, but you're going to push people down the funnel to being at the bottom of that and convert where you want them. I appreciate everyone listening today. Thank you very much. I hope some of those tactics and tips you guys can take and at least try to implement them into polishing, and maximizing this next week and the next month. And remember, keep some of your budgets up to January 15th. It's absolutely worth it. Optimize. Put what you do best out front, and remember that there is certain segments of the holiday season that are wildly different than the other ones, whether that comes down on a product level, on a promotion level, or even conversion rates. So adjust for those and be conscious of those. Thanks a lot.